Right, let's concentrate on football as the scores start to come in from this afternoon's games, and well, score flashes still on the video printer. So let's take a check what's happening at Old Trafford. Goalless between Manchester United and Wimbledon, a match that United had to win to go back on top of the First Division. Tony Gubber is watching that.
Well, Manchester United's challenge for their first title in a quarter of a century increasingly lacks conviction. On their beach of a pitch today, too often United's artistry is foundering on a bad bounce or a misunderstanding. And Wimbledon's workhorses, beaten 5-1 by Leeds last week, have stuck manfully to their task. It's 0-0 at the moment, but only a Schmeichel save from Terry Phelan 5 minutes ago prevented Wimbledon from winning this. If those two results, 5-1 last week for Leeds and 0-0 here at Old Trafford, are the yardstick, then you have to say that Leeds are beginning to look the better bet for the title. At times, United's attacks have really enveloped the visitors, but Kanchelskis, McClare, Hughes and Giggs have all failed to convert, and although Paul Ince adequately deputising this afternoon for the still injured Robson, there's still a very important missing ingredient. With about 15 minutes left, United have pulled off very unhappy looking Neil Webb and sent on Lee Sharp to make it 4 up front alongside Giggs, Kanchelskis and Hughes, but with the minutes ticking away they still can't get the goal that they require. Still 0-0.
Full-time scores just starting to go through on the video printer, as you can see, and the first score draw through from the Scottish Second Division. Clyde 1, Stranraer 1. At Anfield today, it's Liverpool and Spurs, the two sides knocked out of Europe in midweek. It sounds like more misery for Spurs, as we hear from Gerald Sinstadt.
2 goals by Dean Saunders, bracketing one by Paul Stewart, have made Tottenham's plight more parlous, but they didn't play well enough to deserve a margin as narrow as this. Liverpool are hardly sublime these days, over-elaborate around the penalty area, profligate with early chances, and left somewhat vulnerable by one of Grobbelaar's more variable displays. But Spurs, without Lineker and bolstered only by Torsvedt, Mabbutt and Stewart, have looked short of morale and low on ideas. They may yet avoid relegation, but only because there are worse teams below them. Frankly, they don't look capable of saving themselves.
And from the Scottish Premier, the full-time going through from the Edinburgh Derby. Hibernian 1, Hearts 2. That was Gordon Hunter. An own goal for Hearts, and Ian Ferguson, Mickey Weir after 51 minutes for Hibs. And quite a match going on, we hear in the First Division. Norwich City 4, Everton 3 there at Carrow Road. Full-time scoreline confirmed from Old Trafford. Manchester United 0, Wimbledon 0. So United missed the chance to go top of the First Division. Leeds play at Arsenal tomorrow. Division 1, Nottingham Forest 2, Manchester City 0. That was Gary Crosby after 64 minutes and Roy Keane after 87. Headlines from elsewhere at the top of the Second Division. Interesting match at Ewood Park, where the leaders Blackburn are trailing 2-0 to Charlton. Charlton in 8th place, Robert Lee and Carl Leeburn their scorers. Confirmation of the scoreline from Old Trafford. United 0, Wimbledon 0, and Leeds could stretch their lead at the top of the table tomorrow at Arsenal. The latest scores from the First Division: Chelsea 1, Sheffield United 2. In the all-important relegation games, it's Southampton 1, Luton 1, West Ham 2, Queen's Park Rangers 2. Here's an important match from the Second Division: Cambridge United and Ipswich. United in second, Ipswich in third, and it's finished all square. Simon Milton after 53 minutes for Ipswich, Mick Heathcote after 54 minutes for Cambridge United. But valuable points for both, with the prospect of the leaders Blackburn slipping up at home today. Scottish Premier, Airdrie 2, Falkirk 2. McGiven and Cadet for Falkirk, and 2 goals from Owen Coyle for Airdrie. Scottish Second, Dumbarton 1, Alloa 1. Scottish First, Ayr 0, Kilmarnock 2. Let's get a report from Scotland now, as the Fourth Division scoreline goes through. Wrexham 1, Crewe 0, and a report on that Edinburgh Derby, Hibernian and Hearts, from Jock Brown.
Hearts kept alive their slim championship hopes with a hard-fought victory over Hibs in the final derby of the season at Edinburgh. But it was all about Mickey Weir in the second half. Hearts went in half-time, leading by 1-0, an own goal by Gordon Hunter in 41 minutes. But then Mickey Weir scored a brilliant equaliser for Hibs in 54 minutes. Hibs were on the ascendancy, and then Weir was ordered off in 61 minutes for his second bookable offence. That gave Hearts the initiative to come forward. They won the game in 76 minutes when Ian Ferguson scored after Reid parried a Bannon header. It's Hibs 1, Hearts 2.
Premier Division score going through there. St Johnstone 1, Dunfermline 0. That was Tommy Turner after 72 minutes. Second Division Middlesbrough 4, Brighton 0. Middlesbrough back on their best form. Scottish Premier also Aberdeen 0, Dundee United 2. And you'll see that that result from Ewood Park is confirmed. Blackburn 0, Charlton 2. And Charlton 3 wins in succession. They're right in the playoff frame once again. And that second division promotion race looking very, very interesting indeed. Scottish First, Partick 0, Hamilton 0. And the confirmed scoreline from Anfield, Liverpool 2, Spurs 1. Spurs remain without a league win since December, and relegation beckons as a very serious prospect for them. Scottish First, Clydebank 2, Morton 3. 5-score draws so far. Division 1, Chelsea 1, Sheffield United 2. What a disappointing week this has been for Chelsea. Dave Whitehouse, a couple of goals for Sheffield United, giving them the points at Stamford Bridge. Scottish Second, Stenhousemuir 1, Arbroath 0. And the Second Division, Swindon Town 3, Southend United 1. Southend's disappointing recent form continues. Duncan Shearer, Paul Bodin and Dave Mitchell for Swindon. And Southend just 1 point from the last 5 games after looking so good for a First Division place just a few weeks ago. Division 4, York City 1, Doncaster 1. Tense stuff at Upton Park, we hear. West Ham United 2, Queen's Park Rangers 2 confirmed there, and Southampton 1, Luton Town 1, the all-important First Division relegation games. Here's an important one from Division 3, and Peterborough, who've been going so well, recently beaten. Bradford 2, Peterborough 1, and Peterborough's first defeat in 10 games. 9 successive wins, and now that defeat at Bradford. Stoke City 5, Exeter 2, the leaders in Division 3 winning well. Birmingham City 2, Huddersfield 0 in Division 3, and West Bromwich Albion 2, Reading 0, the two Midlands promotions challengers in Division 3 winning and winning well. Division 1, Norwich City 4, Everton 3. And that was quite a match. Johnston, a couple of goals for Everton and Peter Beardsley. Darren Beckford got a hat-trick for Norwich City. Lincoln City 1, Northampton Town 2. Northampton can win, but they can't make any money. Division 3, Darlington 0, Preston 2. And Division 2, Plymouth 1, Tranmere 0. That was Steve Morgan after 79 minutes. Valuable points for Plymouth, 22nd coming into today's games. Division 3, Leyton Orient 2, Torquay 0. And Derby County 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 2. That's a slip-up at home for promotion challengers Derby, Paul Birch and Steve Bull for Wolves. Division 4, Rotherham 5, Scunthorpe United 0. And in the First Division, Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 0. Aston Villa can't score or win. Seven-score draws the total. Second Division, Millwall 1, Port Vale 0. They parted company with their manager Bruce Rioch in midweek, but they got the points through a goal from Malcolm Allen after 52 minutes. Port Vale's problems increase. They're bottom, 17 games without a win now. Conference scorelines going through with the competition hotting up there. And here's a surprise from Ibrox Park, the Old Firm match. Rangers 0, Celtic 2, and goals there from Charlie Nicholas and Jerry Craney. And really, Celtic 11 wins in a row now, and if they produce that kind of form earlier in the season, well, that championship battle in Scotland could be very different indeed. Second Division, Oxford United 2, Portsmouth 1. Beecham after 71 minutes and Trevor Aylott after 80 minutes. Darren Anderton for Portsmouth. Portsmouth were 4th, and they'll regret the points that they lost there. Second Division, Sunderland 1, Bristol City 3. Sunderland coming down to earth somewhat after their quarter-final FA Cup win over Chelsea in midweek. Andrew Cole and a couple of goals from Wayne Allison for Bristol City. And Sunderland must be careful because they're not out of the relegation battle at all. Division 4, Maidstone 1, Gillingham 1 in the Kent Derby. And Division 3, Bolton 2, Bury 1 in the Lancashire Derby. Division 1, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Notts County 0. And that was David Hurst after 74 minutes for Sheffield Wednesday. Third place, Wednesday, County bottom but 1. Division 4, Rochdale 3, Hereford 1, and the First Division, Coventry 1, Oldham 1. That was Andy Pearce after 11 minutes for Coventry and Nick Henry after 29 for Oldham. And Coventry's last home win, that was what, way back on November the 30th. Details on that St Mirren scoreline in the Scottish Premier. St Mirren 1, Motherwell 2. Alex Jones after 8 minutes equalising for Motherwell after John Hewitt had put St Mirren ahead. Phil O'Donnell getting the winner. Division 4, Mansfield 0, Burnley 1. and that was Mike Conroy after 41 minutes. The big match in the fourth division, Mansfield second, Burnley third, and they were just a point behind with 2 games in hand. Important win that for Burnley, and important points being fought for all over the country, and we've got together all the classified results.
Barclays League Division 1. Chelsea 1, Sheffield United 2, Coventry City 1, Oldham Athletic 1, Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 0, Liverpool 2, Tottenham Hotspur 1, Manchester United 0, Wimbledon 0, Norwich City 4, Everton 3, Nottingham Forest 2, Manchester City 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Notts County 0, Southampton 2, Luton Town 1, West Ham United 2, Crystal Palace, Queen's Park Rangers 2. League Division 2, Blackburn Rovers 0, Charlton Athletic 2, Bristol Rovers against Barnsley, a late result, Cambridge United 1, Ipswich Town 1, and Derby County 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 2. Grimsby Town against Newcastle United, late result. Leicester City 1, Watford 2. Middlesbrough 4, Brighton and Hove Albion 0. Millwall 1, Port Vale 0. Oxford United 2, Portsmouth 1. Plymouth Argyle 1, Tranmere Rovers 0. Sunderland 1, Bristol City 3. Swindon Town 3, Southend United 1. And the Bristol Rovers Barnsley result, Bristol Rovers 0, Barnsley 0. League Division 3, Birmingham City 2, Huddersfield Town 0. Bolton Wanderers 2, Bury 1. Bradford City 2, Peterborough United 1. Chester City versus Hull City, late result. Darlington 0, Preston North End 2. Leyton Orient 2, Torquay United 0. Stoke City 5, Exeter City 2. West Bromwich Albion 2, Reading 0. League Division 4, Blackpool 3, Chesterfield 1. Carlisle United 2, Scarborough 2. Halifax Town 3, Barnet 1. Lincoln City 1, Northampton Town 2. Maidstone United 1, Gillingham 1. Mansfield Town 0, Burnley 1. Rochdale 3, Hereford United 1. Rotherham United 5, Scunthorpe United 0. Wrexham 1, Crewe Alexandra 0. York City 1, Doncaster Rovers 1. The Vauxhall Conference, Altrincham 0, Redbridge Forest 3. Boston United 4, Barrow 1. Colchester United 1, Northwich Victoria 0. Farnborough Town 1, Cheltenham Town 1. Gateshead 0, Kettering Town 0. Kidderminster Harriers 2, Merthyr Tydfil 2. Telford United 2, Slough Town 2. Welling United 0, Bath City 5. Wycombe Wanderers 3, Stafford Rangers 0. Yeovil Town 1, Runcorn 4. The B&Q Scottish League Premier Division, Aberdeen 0, Dundee United 2. Edrionians 2, Falkirk 2. Hibernian 1, Heart of Midlothian 2. Rangers 0, Celtic 2. St Johnstone 1, Dunfermline Athletic 0. St Mirren 1, Motherwell 2. Scottish League Division 1, Ayr United 0, Kilmarnock 2. Clydebank 2, Morton 3. Dundee 3, Wraith Rovers 2. Forth Athletic 2, Montrose 0. Meadowbank Thistle 0, Stirling Albion 0. Partick Thistle 0, Hamilton Academicals 0. Scottish League Division 2, Albion Rovers 3, Queen's Park 4. Brigham City 0, East 5, 1. Clyde 1, Stranraer 1. Cowdenbeath 4, Berwick Rangers 1. Dumbarton 1, Alloa Athletic 1. Queen of the South 2, East Stirlingshire 3. Stenhousemuir 1, Arbroath 0. And today's other pools matches, late result between Chelmsford City and Dorchester Town. Crawley Town 1, Burton Albion 2. Gloucester City 1, VS Rugby 2. Gravesend and Northfleet 0. Bromsgrove Rovers 1.
This is the position in the late results. One of them is in, that one in League Division 3, Chester City 1, Hull City 1. Latest score from Division 2, Grimsby Town 1, Newcastle 1. That kick-off was delayed because of a crowd spillage onto the pitch before the start. All is well, we understand, but Grimsby Town 1, Newcastle 1, a latest score. And also on the pools, latest score from Chelmsford, Chelmsford City 0, Dorchester Town 1. And that is now a result. Well, it's moved on just a little bit from our latest position. Chelmsford City 0, Dorchester Town 3, a result. So we wait one result, that one from Grimsby. But a check on the pool situation. 10 score draws and 4 no-score draws. That one Grimsby result to come. No decision on the telephone claims. The 10 score draws, check for you. Numbers 2, 8, 11, 24, 30, 33, 38, 44, 55 and 57. And the 4 no-score draws, 3, 10, 51 and 52. Well, Manchester United missed the chance to go top, drawing 0-0 with Wimbledon today. Leeds play Arsenal tomorrow at Highbury, while Sheffield Wednesday stay third. That's the situation at the top of the First Division. Meanwhile, at the bottom, the important game at the foot of the table was at the Dell, where Southampton beat Luton. The winner coming from Ian Dowie against his old club. West Ham remain at the foot of the table. In the second division, leaders Blackburn, they lost at home to Charlton Athletic, so Cambridge and Ipswich, who drew in their top of the table match today, are now just 2 points behind. Charlton move up to 5th. And at the bottom, Port Vale still adrift in bottom place, but good wins for fellow strugglers Bristol City, Plymouth and Oxford United, and that all means that Brighton drop deeper into trouble. And confirmed from Grimsby, final score in that match. Grimsby Town 1, Newcastle United 1. Another score draw, making a total of 11 in all. Division 3, Stoke's home win over Exeter means they're now 6 points clear of Stockport and Brentford, who both played last night, and West Bromwich Albion, who won today. Peterborough lost their first league game in 10 at Bradford. And at the bottom, 2 of this morning's bottom 3 met this afternoon, with Preston winning at home, winning at the bottom club Darlington. Torquay also lost. Division 4, Blackpool beat Chesterfield. They stay top, while Burnley won the big game in that promotion battle, 1-0 at Mansfield. And it's as you were at the bottom. Aldershot just about keeping going in the league, but they lost at Cardiff last night. Doncaster drew with York today. In the Vauxhall Conference, Colchester and Wycombe both had home wins today, so no change in the chase for promotion to the league. And the Scottish Premier, well, Celtic made it 11 victories in a row with their 2-0 win over leaders Rangers. They consolidate their position in 3rd place, but Rangers 5 points clear of Hearts. At the bottom, Dunfermline, they're relegated. Their defeat by St Johnstone and Airdrie's point against Falkirk, consigning Dunfermline to First Division football next season. And in the First Division, Dundee increased their lead at the top to 2 points after their 3-2 win against Wraith. Partick Thistle and Hamilton drew with each other this afternoon. They stay 2nd and 3rd respectively. And at the foot of the table, Forfar beat Montrose today to move to within 1 point of them. These two remain deep in the relegation zone. And in the 2nd Division, leaders Cowdenbeath scored a comfortable win against Berwick today to increase their advantage at the top to 3 points. And at the bottom, Stenhousemuir scored a rare win against Arbroath, but despite that stay next to bottom. Let's look ahead to sport coming up this week. And on Wednesday evening in Sports Night, well, it's international soccer with England's friendly in Czechoslovakia and Scotland against Finland at Hampden Park. Top-class boxing as well, all starting BBC One at 10:30. So that's it. Cross country now on BBC Two, and don't miss the Mexican Grand Prix on BBC Two also tomorrow evening. Nigel Mansell trying to make it 2 out of 2. Bye.